everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Witches and Weebs. Sunday Funday. Sunday
Funday. Yes,
Listen,
it is a Sunday Funday.
We barely do Sunday Funday, so I'm like, spirit, sadder, Sunday Funday. Today, we will be talking about D&D. Dungeons and Dragons.
Though I technically would say we'll talk about tabletop role-playing in general.
That's fair. We're talking about tabletops based off D&D.
Yeah, we play D&D, so... But we'll talk about more, like, probably our role-play habits. I will talk about character creation because I've been role-playing longer than I've ever been D&D-ing.
Yeah, we could talk
I've been world-building for so much longer than I've ever been D&D-ing.
We could talk about the kind of GMs that we like to see. We could talk about, like, is there such thing as a good or a bad DM and bad players? The answer is subjective, so.
The answer is subjective. I definitely think that there's bad DMs for players and there are bad players for DMs. And so you just have to find the right person. We'll talk about the fact that I also made my own DM screen for my computer that sits into the slot of where wood meets in my computer desk. And it's just paper.
If it works, it works.
Because unfortunately we do online play, even though I would much prefer to do in-person play, because let me have 700 minis.
For 700 minis, a nice-ass big old fucking interactive map. You know what's so cool?
Oh my god, I would love to have a computer screen. There's actually a person that... I'll let you finish. I'll talk about him in a second. But I know somebody who has a DM fucking table like that. That bastard. Okay, go ahead.
They would build TV monitors or just monitors in a table, and then they would display the map on the screen. And that is where they have their minis, and it's so cool. I'm like, how y'all are so innovative. I would love to be part of a campaign like that.
Absolutely. I would love to have like a big table and like props. I want to have like little health pots I can give you guys.
Oh my god, props!
I would love to do things like that for my D&D campaign, but you know, my people are like halfway across the world.
Hi. Like, I don't know what it is about props, but being able to physically immerse yourself in the campaign is so good. It's delicious, and I thrive and live off of that shit.
I 100% don't want, like, I know what Hasbro and WotC are doing. They're pushing towards online D&D, AI bullshit. No, thank you. 100% no, thank you. Reject. I don't want any part of that, which is why I don't play in the D&D world at all. However, I do know there is an actor who's going to play Mr. Crocodile in One Piece who has one of those nice-ass fucking tables.
What's his name? Joe Man...
I can't fucking pronounce his name, don't ask me.
I'm just gonna call him Joe Manjo. I love Joe Manjo.
So do I. And he actually plays with people like Vince Vaughn. I know there's a couple other actors at his table, and the actors there are like people I never expected to play D&D, but have been playing for like 10 years with him.
I never expected him to play D&D. Like, seeing Joe Manjo play D&D would be the equivalent of me seeing Jason Momoa play D&D.
The funny part is,
I never thought it would happen.
I think Jason Momoa would love D&D.
I think he would love D&D too. Like, I seen Joe Manjo on an episode of Critical Role, and I was like, what are you doing here?
The irony is, I told my husband that, okay, I was like, oh, so this is the vibe they're going for Mr. Crocodile's pure mobster. Sign me up. Sign me up. Shit. And I told my husband, I was like, oh, do you know the actor Joe, what's his name? He's gonna play Mr. Crocodile in One Piece. I was like, that's a pretty big name for One Piece. And so he started looking it up, and I was like, how did you end up finding a video of him having a D&D table? Of all things, that's what my husband lands on. He's like, oh, this guy has the D&D table. Click. I'm like, a what? My husband is a man.
Fucking Joe Manjo and Deborah Ann Wall. My experience with those two were True Blood. I've seen them first in True Blood, and so I'm like, oh, Shit. Y'all play D&D too? That's crazy. And then you got WWE superstars that play tabletops too. And I'm like, we're all a little bit nerdy, aren't we?
Yeah, actually, I think a lot of the people that we looked up as cool in our day and age are like actual just big theater nerds.
And so are we.
And yeah, I was gonna say, shouldn't be surprising at all. I what did I do but spend my entire childhood in music and trying to act? I was in one of those little fucking theater groups of like 10 kids during the summer one time. That's how deep in this shit I was.
I was never a theater kid. I wanted to be a theater kid so bad, but I was not allowed to. So here I am.
I was never, my thing is that I was always very awkward in high school, so I never got like any kind of parts or anything. I was ensemble 75, which was fine with me. But yeah, I always wanted to be in the theater and doing music and dancing. So this is like scratching an itch in the back of my head.
And we love that for you. Okay, so like, what do we want to talk about first with tabletops? What do we want to talk about first?
I want to talk about this little idea I saw online, and I don't know how to do it, but I think it's ingenious. If you're like stuck in playing the same characters over and over again for each of your games, why don't you just pull a couple cards and figure out from there? From the tarot deck, you get the magician, you're some kind of spellcaster. Your next card is, I don't know, the 3 of Swords. Maybe you're a betrayer.
What character am I in a D&D campaign? We about to do this live and in living color, baby. We are the star of the campaign. We are the main character. Not really. That's not what that means at all. That just probably means that you're a very nurturing character.
Yeah, you would be like probably a sunshine character. That sounds like somebody who would be sunshine.
The peacekeeper, probably the healer, honestly. Like the very pure cleric.
I was about to say, definitely probably a little bit of a cleric, life cleric, probably healer.
Yeah.
Because there's, like, you don't have to, I just want to say, clerics are not just healers. They are fucking utility. That's what they are. They are not meant to just only be healers.
Unless you're Shadowheart, then just never use your Sacred Flame. Ever.
Yeah, never use that. Ever.
Ever.
Never. It is worthless. It needs not to exist. However, always use your spirit guardians and your spirit weapon. Please. Always. Never don't. My favorite, turning into a blade. Thank you. Let me run around them.
Spiritual weapon is so slept on, and I feel like spiritual weapon got a resurgence after Critical Role's 2nd season with Jester and actually having a spiritual weapon being used. Because outside of Critical Role, when I was in all my D&D campaigns, bless them, have never seen a cleric use spiritual weapon ever.
That's like my favorite fucking spell. What do you mean? Well, okay. See, let me tell you a story about my D&D campaign that I just started. Because I wasn't even going to have a player character in the game. But I get handed a rogue, a ranger, and a sorcerer at level 1 where they all have 8 hit points.
You're welcome. You are welcome.
So I understand like why people don't want to play clerics, because everyone you get heal botted. Everybody wants you to be a healer. But that's their own fault. If they wanted to have healing, then they should have been a healer themselves.
Like, there are so many classes outside of cleric that can have healing spells. But
absolutely.
Cleric gets the treatment that bards get. Like, bard is always, oh, you're the horny character, you're the comedic relief, you're the this, you're the that, you're this, blah, blah, blah. And that's kind of what cleric is defaulted to. Cleric is defaulted to, you are the healer because that is all you have to offer. Oh, yeah, watch me beat the shit out of this monster without any fucking healing. Watch this.
Especially because clerics are actually way more tanky than you give them credit for. A lot of their spells are utility, not healing.
I think people confuse cleric and paladin because paladin is also tanky and paladin can also heal, but it really depends on the oath that you take.
Yeah, and it's the same. It's the same with the cleric. There are plenty different, like trickery domain. There's the war domain. They could have any different kind of spells where they could be literally built to be damage cleric, which I love the fact that you can be that creative. I do want to talk about the new DM's book. being made for brand new DMs and people not understanding that. They're shitting on it because, oh, well, it wasn't made for me, so it's bad.
Okay,
it's like,
well,
they needed to write this book 10 years ago when they brought out the first book, because coming into D&D, I was blind. I played one adventure with a friend of mine, and it was a crackpot adventure. Love him to death, Baji, but it was hilariously fun and deeply unserious, and I loved every second of it. Don't get me wrong. Loved every second. I literally still write the character on my Tumblr blog that came out of this. I love Phelan. And her little pixie friend.
Oh God, that.
Calliope.
When I make characters, the way that I make characters is a little unorthodox because I like to base my character themes off of color. So if I see a color, I'm like, okay, what is associated with this color? If this color is their aesthetic, then that's the color that this character is going to be. My characters always start out as a singular color, and then the color starts to manifest into an actual character the more I explore and the more that I play them.
I know a way you could challenge yourself in developing characters based off palettes.
Ooh, that's a good idea.
It'd be really fun and a great way to start leveling up your art too when you draw those characters.
Now I gotta find some cool ass palette websites. But yeah, if you're a person like that, I love colors. I see a color aesthetic and I like to build around that aesthetic. Now that doesn't necessarily mean, okay, so this character is blue. That means that they're calm and serene. And it's like maybe, or I don't know, they're related to water. So they have big ass ups and very, very low downs that match the tides of water.
If you look, so like, let's go with the water example. Pisces, Cancer, and Scorpio are very different waters. So you could take that blue color and separate it even further, breaking it down into different astrology and be like, okay, I'm gonna make this one off of Scorpio because they're transformation. So they could be something that, oh, they're a druid that has animal shapes.
Right. And even if you don't know anything about tarot, and even if you don't know anything about astrology, if you know colors, because colors, there's always something associated with a color. You cannot tell me that there is nothing that you could associate a color with. Red, fire. Orange, also fire. Probably also orange. Sunsets, yellow. Lemons, the sun, green, nature, blue, water. Hello, it's that easy.
Yes, like there's certain things that you really can just grab on. Like I actually really love the idea of taking palettes and being like, okay, this color is going to represent this part of their personality. This color is going to represent their magic. This color is going to represent where they came from. And this color is going to represent, I don't fucking know. Can't think
there's so many things, even like white. Oh, okay, white. That means that this is a pure character. Maybe not. I don't know. They could probably come from a snowy area because what else is white? Snow, ice. Ooh, they can have something. They could be ice magic. Like, exactly. Or even if it's not ice magic, they could probably have spells that materialize from ice and then transmute into fire. Like, okay, look at all these snowflakes. Oh my God, it's fire now. What the fuck? That's just the aesthetic makeup of that character. And I think it's very important to like most people don't care about aesthetics, but I like aesthetics because I feel like it actually brings personality and breathes life into your character. For example, I have a character in Space's campaign. Her name is Sandy. She is from, wow, wouldn't you guess it, like a desert area. It's not necessarily the desert, but it's built around deserts. So she's a rogue, but she doesn't necessarily do magic. However, I decided that if she did do magic, her magic would materialize in the form of grains of sand. So it's like, okay, then she's casting fireball. Cool, sand is coalescing in her hand and then boom, poof, fireball, boom. Like all of her spells would be sand based because her name isn't actually Sandy. Okay. Her last name is Sandstrider, but you get the idea.
Here's the thing. I know what's going to happen with Sandy, and you have no idea how fitting her magic is going to be when you figure out what her god is. So,
oh yeah, and deities. Like I am obsessed with mythology. I love the idea of praying to your god and then your god being like, here you go.
So in my campaign, it's all about the gods. Like every character is god touched in some fashion. Like Sandy has already kind of been hinted at, and the rest of them are gonna come in stages. But so everything ties into the gods for my campaign because I also am obsessed with mythology. So my current space that they're in is a country called Basset, and it is obviously inspired by Egyptian mythology. They loved and worshipped cats at that point, and the goddess Basset, obviously you get my whole picture where I'm going right now. That's why Sandy is a sand cat.
She is a sand cat. Sandy is a tabaxi sand cat. I was like, I want to be a cat. I was originally going to have her as a black cat, but I was like, black cats are so easy to like make with aesthetics. And black cats are so easily like troped because of the black cat trope. But I didn't want to play a black cat trope. I thought it would be ironic to play like an awkward golden retriever like black cat, but I was like, nah, I'm just gonna make her a sand cat. Because I think you had it that the god was a black cat, or one of the gods was a black cat.
The queen of Basset is actually a black cat.
The queen is a black cat. But I was like, oh, I don't want people to think that I'm related to the queen, so I'm just gonna be a sand cat instead.
Yeah. I can't drop anything. I can't say nothing right now because
that's totally okay.
What I know is so spicy right now. You have no idea.
Well, I would hope so, DM.
Yes. But okay, so from this world, so this is in the world of Ghidorah, which is inspired by my love of cultures and my love of the punk genre. And I mean that in stuff as like steampunk, solar punk, aether punk, the whole 9 yards. I love all of it. I love mixing technology and magic. And I don't like the idea that everything needs to look like Middle Earth. Middle Earth is based in England. It is literally the map of England. And they mention in the books that there are other lands. So obviously those other lands would be different.
Right.
In the book, they mention southern lands several times. So I need people to think that, okay, that not everything needs to look like Tolkien. Add D&D too. Not everything needs to look like Tolkien. That's all. That's all I have to say. Not everything needs to look like Tolkien.
That's exactly why I love homebrew. Because I love being like, I have not played an actual D&D campaign set within the books that D&D have released. Every campaign that I've been has been homebrew. They were okay, but I just like the idea of homebrew because you have so much creative liberty over everything. You have your continents, you've got your own countries, you've got your own mythology, and you can even use like some of the base things that the books provide if you need a starting point.
I absolutely steal from the books. Speaking of homebrew, this is what problem I have with D&D as is, because I got into D&D before the 2024 came out. So I read the 5e book. They basically tell you, you know how to play the game. Go fuck yourself. Make your own world.
And that's probably why people are like, oh, the 2024 book is stupid. Because, yeah, you've been playing this game for so long and you had to literally put on your own training wheels and learn things on your own, that now that they have something streamlined that's easier for other people to understand, you don't need it because you are well advanced and well past what they're putting out for new people.
Absolutely. This book is not for long-term and long-time players. It's not. It's not for you. You don't have to comment on it if you're not going to use it to be like, well, this book sucks because it's not for me to make my homebrew campaign. Okay, you have the 2014 book. Go use that. It tells you literally everything. It's a great reference book, but it's a reference book. It doesn't actually tell you to play the game. This book is what I had to read to actually know how to play the game. I had to read this book. Please ignore the fact that Crocodile is peeking out of this book. Anyway, I had to read this book to actually understand how to create dungeons, to create an adventure, to create a mega dungeon, to do dungeon room keys so I know what the fuck is going on in my own dungeon and like what story I'm trying to do. That book, none of this was mentioned in the DM's guide in 2014. That's a bad book if you want new people to play D&D and to be DMs. No wonder you guys can't get DMs. I have another topic on that. Because you guys don't actually tell people how to play the game. This new book is for brand new DMs, for players that literally are like, okay, well, I want to DM for my own group because my DM stepped down. They don't want to be forever DM. Totally time to learn. New book is for you. Absolutely. It is for players like me because I literally am only in session 6 of my campaign. And I played
That's a lie.
Oh, we're in session 8, aren't we?
Yes.
Okay. My bad. Session 8. So sorry. We're in session 8, and I'm just now starting to develop other adventures that I could run side by side so we can play more and I can get more experience. However, I didn't need the 2014 book to tell me how to homebrew, bitch. Because I've got worlds that I created for Star Wars, Star Trek. I've got worlds that I created to just explain my OC's existence because I was like, well, they wouldn't exist on Earth, so yes, it's whatever. So world building was not something I needed help on. I literally spent most of my time reading the first book like, I know how to do this. Factions, I know how to do this. Tectonic, but I know how to do all this shit.
Right.
So, yeah, there needs to be a book that actually tells you how to be a DM.
Right.
Not that within the first 10 sentences tells you, you know how to be a DM. We're going to tell you how to homebrew your own world. That's crazy.
Right. It's like, okay, sure. Yeah, I know how to homebrew my own world, but how the fuck do I get to run it with actual people to explore the world some more so I can continue to world build?
Exactly.
Game.
Exactly. Which is why I really like the new DM's guide that breaks down the different player archetypes, because I think they did an excellent job in covering literally everybody that could be at your table. And there's actually people that will just want to sit at your table and experience a fun time with their friends. They don't need to have a character arc. They're called the socializer. They don't care. They're just there to have fun.
Yeah.
And so long as you guys are having fun, they're having fun. Now, here's the thing a lot of people forget is that DMs are players too. I saw a TikTok from a creator that I actually really like, so I'm not going to call them out. And it's not TikTok, it's a short. Talking about if your DM gets upset or sad that you ruined their narrative moment, they're trying to tell a story, not play a D&D game. And it's like, sounds like you have never been a DM ever. Because guess what, homie? I need these narrative moments so I could tell your fucking story.
It's literally both. I am telling a story and I am getting them to play the game by telling them this story. And me and Space talked about this the other day because it's like...
I was flabbergasted by this take.
It's like, okay, you're in a dungeon. How the fuck would you know what this dungeon looks like? How the fuck would you know what to search for in this dungeon if the DM does not narrate the storytelling portion of this part of the campaign so you understand?
Nope. I gotta interrupt everything the DM does because I don't give a fuck about what the DM prepared. And I'm like, this is why you guys get murder hobos in your game, because you don't let them roleplay at all.
And it's like, okay, yeah, some people will like that thing. And this is why I say bad players and bad DMs are subjective, because a DM might love warmongers because that's the kind of campaigns that they do. But then some DMs would just rather, you know, more roleplay aspects more than actual combat, and that's okay. Then you've got DMs who do both. So both parties can enjoy themselves as a murder hobo or a role player. I mean, there are some that would prefer one and don't really care about the other, which in that case, it'd be hard to integrate. But there are people who prefer both too. I am one of those people. Space is one of those people. We like variety.
I am somebody who will run a campaign that is destined to kill all of you. But I'll give you the heads up. Like, I based a campaign off of the movie Annihilation for my additional world called the Ruin Lands. And that is a campaign where literally you either... or you do something else. And the something else is technically also in a different way. You basically become something else or someone else. And so there are campaigns where I welcome a murder hobo if you want to kill one of the players, but you guys gotta like talk about that yourselves.
Yeah, because I got a story. I have
player
a story.
To player is you have to have the right group to have player to player combat or like player to player confrontation.
Ooh. We did not. So I was in a campaign.
It's really hard.
Some years ago, and we had a person who was kind of like just the lone wolf archetype. I do not mind the lone wolf archetype, but for fuck's sake, please at least get some development so that lone wolf character can find a way to integrate themselves in the party. Otherwise, why are you here?
Even if it's just one person that they get attached to, and they're like, oh, fuck, well, I don't want to leave this one person. I hate the rest of you, but I like this person.
And that is exactly what my character in that campaign was. He was a lone wolf character, but he had a best friend in that party. He's like, I don't want to leave because I don't want to leave my best friend. His best friend left, so he also left in turn, but he stayed because his best friend. So lone wolf character does lone wolf things. Lone wolf character goes into combat by himself. We have stupid, bulky jock character who also follows lone wolf character into combat. The rest of us were not ready. This was not talked about. So as it happens, this big bad character was a big bad. We were not equipped to equipped to fight a big bad. So my character's best friend ends up dying. And so my character is like, you know, frantic. They're panicking. They just watch their best friend die before their very eyes. Said person who was playing the character was visibly upset because it was not even their fault that they died. It was the lone wolf character's fault who started the combat that killed that character. And so then DM and said lone wolf player decided that they were gonna, you know, talk to each other in DMs and hatch up a plan to resurrect the character that died. So that happens. The player whose character died had absolutely no idea that was going to happen. And they had already talked with the DM about making a new character. They had fleshed out everything and they were so very ready to play this new character. And then all of a sudden this character is resurrected by some means of divine intervention. And so that person was very upset. They were like, what? I didn't get a say in anything that had happened with my character.
Yeah,
nobody told me that this was going to happen. And that's why I feel like planning before doing anything, even if it's out of character, is important, because then you know how to not metagame. And so you understand, okay, I have this knowledge, but my character doesn't. Let me react in a way where my character would understand maybe what's going on.
Okay, so that's a lot of metagaming. Like, that they were trying to avoid metagaming because that person would obviously know that their character is coming back if they had brought in the character, but it's not. You just have to learn not to metagame. You just have to learn not to metagame.
Like, okay.
Hate to break it to you.
Not metagaming is easy, but it's also very hard because at some point you don't understand the line between, does my character know this because I know this? Or would my character know this because I was smart enough to take notes and I might know this off the top of my head? It really depends on how your character is. And that's why I recommend asking your DM questions. Okay, you wrote this as a note. Then obviously your character would remember it because you have it written down. You logged that in your book, so now it's logged into your character's memory. But if you know something that your character has not come up to yet, you can ask your DM, hey, would such and such know? Your DM would probably be like, okay, maybe roll a history check. Nat 20. Fuck yeah, your character knows. Nat 1.
Don't know why.
Absolutely not. Don't know. Like maybe, and that's what I love about D&D, or not even D&D, just tabletops in general, how creative you can get. It's like, okay, well, then the DM gets to decide for you little bits and pieces of your backstory and your lore. How the fuck would my character know something that we have not encountered yet? Your DM says, okay, when you were younger, you had read a book. Because your DM knows your backstory. Your DM understands how to integrate things into your backstory that you would have overlooked. So your DM could be like, okay, well, you know, you liked to frequent the library when you were younger. That's what you have in your backstory. You probably picked up a book way back when about this very specific situation and read about it. And now that you remember something about it is happening, it's clicking into your mind like, oh my God, I remember that I read something like this a long, long time ago.
Yeah, this actually happened in the last session where Sandy is from a city called Petra. And with the way that Petra is set up, she would have actually some decent intimate knowledge about mines and how they work and being underground. At least the aspect of being underground and being below something else. So I gave her a little bit of information based on her very low roll.
It wasn't super low. It was like
I think
18.
It was like a 6.
Oh, wait, 6.
You rolled a 6
good.
at one point.
I know I rolled a 6 for something, but I thought like, I don't know, my character apparently has a lot of common sense where she can just put 2 and 2 together and understand, okay. Oh, I think it was
She's got critical thinking.
It was so there was an entrance to the mines, and our party were trying to figure out where would the entrance to the mines be. I think I rolled a 6 there, and my character's like, okay, well, I'm a cat and I can climb high, but I also know that most people are not cats, so they cannot climb like I can without some equipment. So I don't think that the entrance would be all the way up here unless it was specifically terraformed for cats or people that can just climb in general.
That's exactly it, because I was like, she would definitely know stuff about mines, but like she rolled so poopy that I couldn't like give her much of anything. So I was like, well, I'll just give her common sense.
And that's okay. Like, I think that making decisions is a good balance of rolling and also common fucking sense, because like your character won't know everything. And this brings me to my thing about natural 20s. Like, if there's absolutely no way that your character would know any of this and you roll a nat 20, how do you justify that?
I will say you still wouldn't know anything about this because you have in your backstory, you have no experience with this shit. It would be like Alicia, who is from Satri. Oh my god, I can't fucking do my own shit.
Cute. I like Satria.
I like Satria too, actually. I mean, we'll see about it. She's from a temperate forest kind of situation, and so she doesn't have any sort of knowledge of fucking mines and sand and the desert. So she would be the type that would get a natural 20, and I'd still have to be like,
I feel
maybe you read the word mine shaft in a book one time.
I honestly, genuinely, and I'm not a DM. I'm just using like how I would do certain things, because even though I haven't DM, I have experienced DMs that I do not personally like. So I know what it would be like to be a bad DM or what it would be like to be a good DM. In a situation like that where a character would know absolutely nothing, you don't even have them roll. Even if they ask, they're like, would such and such know this? No. There's absolutely no way that you would know this.
If there's no information to be gained from rolling from a character, I wouldn't even have them roll. Like, I'm just like, no, you have no idea, buddy boy. Sorry, you're from a different world.
I feel like DMs put so much emphasis on rolling to uncover information that at a point where it doesn't even make sense, they try to make sense of it, and then it kind of just disrupts the entire flow of the campaign and the story.
Like, in this past, I actually, for the first like 7 sessions, didn't have them roll very much at all, because they were just role playing, and I was like letting them, because they were giving me stuff to work with, they were giving me backstory, they were giving me Alicia being hilariously bad at drinking.
Like, honestly, if your players are just doing, let your players do. Sometimes it's just good to let your players do until your players start doing too much. And then you as the DM need to tell them, all right, it's time to move forward. Y'all basically did what y'all had to do. Now y'all are kind of just wasting time, but not in the bad way. Y'all are killing time here. And if y'all want to progress, then y'all gonna have to start making some moves.
So it was this past session that I actually had them roll a lot, because they were doing investigation and going almost into a dungeon if they wanted to. So that was more of like, that's where I make rolls important. During most of the rest of the game, rolls aren't as nearly as important as just giving me shit to work with.
Right.
I want to talk about the fact that Nia makes dice, and she owes me dice.
Listen, I have been trying my hardest to get all of the materials that I need to make very specific types of dice.
Look at my one pathetic. This is the only dice I own.
Don't ask me where any of my dice are, because my daughter decided to take my entire dice bag and dump them out in the living room. I have no idea where any of them are anymore.
Oh my god.
Her dice now.
She likes colors.
She loves colors.
That's unfortunate.
For me, great for her. Very unfortunate for me, because I have a lot of colorful things.
Because you also like colors.
She is my child. For real, for real.
One archetype, I don't like the standard archetypes of characters either. Like, you know, bards have to be horny, paladins are assholes,
clerics are only healers,
rogues are lone star losers who don't talk to anybody. It's lone star.
Yeehaw!
Yeehaw!
I'm your resident rogue. How y'all doing?
But I also don't like the idea that orcs have to be muscle-bound idiots or violent or I'm gonna take the idea of Final Fantasy beast tribes, where one obviously will have one culture that leans into the orc stereotype and we'll have another one that would not. They don't focus on strength. And it is, you look at humans, we don't just have one culture. We have many different cultures. So I think that orcs and other intelligent creatures that form language would be able to also develop their own set of cultures. They wouldn't have just all orcs are violent, muscle bound, have to, like, that's the idea that the species bonus, the race bonus of D&D 5 and that way that they did races now, you don't get any bonuses from being them. It's like, yeah, that's fine, because you should rely on your backstory for that.
I agree. I'm not a fan of like the whole every tiefling has to be stick thin, because I want to see some fucking beefy burly tieflings. I want to see an orc-sized tiefling. I want to see a tiefling-sized orc. Like, the idea that orcs have to just be big and burly, like, not orcs, half orcs have to be big and burly. It's like, no, what if I want to be, you know, slimmer and intelligent and wear glasses and do magic? Like, why do I have to be a barbarian? That's not fair. Why am I being typecasted into a role because of my race? That's weird. It's like saying that, dude, look at humans. We're all very different. We've got humans that can lift literally 1,000 pounds. And then they got me who could only lift 5 at one time. I'm so sorry. That's really stupid to be like, oh, all drow are evil and they worship the same singular goddess when not even humans we have 27 different pantheons. It's a little weird. You guys need to be a little bit more creative if you have to have your orcs be evil. This is why I love homebrew, because a good creative mind can make anything work and fix any quote-unquote mistakes that
Here's the thing, you can lean into stereotypes. I have a little write-up of some cultural things that I've come up to explain why certain races, like goblins, they steal things because what they believe is if they see it and take it, it is theirs. So they don't believe in thievery at all. They don't believe in stealing. They don't believe anything belongs to anybody until it's in their hand. Okay, this belongs to me. If you don't have it on you, it's free game.
Mine now. Stereotype. I play cat. We have so many fucking cat jokes in our campaign. The fact that
love them.
I have prevented combat twice because
by snatching rats.
Cat, I snatch up rats because I'm a cat. That's how it is. We were going to be in combat with a bunch of big rats or a singular big ass rat, but because I'm a cat,
he was gonna call his rat buddies for backup, but like since you caught him and immediately slapped.
Yeah, like I'm a cat. I fucking was on the hunt. I was on the prowl. I saw a rat and I was like, fuck you. Yeah, bitch, I got your ass.
And that leaded into the storyline anyway that was going to play out for this area. Regardless, it all worked out. I just thought it was hilarious that I was going to have them fight rats until she fucking snatched it. I was like, are you for real?
I'm a cat. I'm a cat.
So it's totally fine to lean into stereotypes so long as you give them a little logic.
But also don't be offensive about it, please.
Absolutely. Like, goblins are goblins. I can be a little bit mean to them because that's what they are, and they're dumb. But I still gave them a legitimacy to the way that they act by giving them a culture that does not believe in thievery and stealing. So I still gave them nuance and development that makes it, oh, they're not just little thieves. They're like, this is just what they believe. Now, how do we tell them that that's kind of wrong?
If you can make it make sense, it's good.
Dude, yeah, just honestly make it make sense and you got it. And there's plenty of like little tidbits on YouTube, Pinterest, all little helpful hints that will help you make it make sense. Now I have a question. Have you named your winter world yet that you were developing?
It's called Mavos.
Oh, nice.
Maavos, Mavos.
Because I have not named the water world from the Star Trek, or I don't remember its name actually.
I saw a video that was like name your worlds without name generators or something like that. I think it was from that same guy I told you about earlier. His name was like Jed Hearn. Jed Hearn, I think that was his name. But there was a video, I don't even think it was him, but there was a video that was like how to name your worlds without name generators. Honestly, I didn't watch the video, but I also forgot to thumbs it up so I could go back to watching it. But like, I just kind of pick some letters that might sound good together and try to make it make some fucking sense.
I think that a lot of people go to fantasy sometimes. Like, Final Fantasy is really bad at that. Final Fantasy 4.
Dawn Trail.
Like, I love the idea of the world, but goddamn, give it some fucking, give it realistic names that people would actually use. Even these places would have nicknames that their locals would use them, because ain't nobody dropping that fucking name every single time that you gotta go to this in
no. I don't want to go to Eshmeham. We call that shit A-Town. You from A-Town? Yeah, I'm from A-Town. What the fuck is A-Town? Eshmeham.
Cyrenia. I called it Cyrenia. Was the water world. I did have it. I do have it in my notes.
Like, yeah, I do feel like people go way too fucking fantasy sometimes. And it's like, you don't have to be Tolkien at all. You don't got to be J.R.R. Martin. You don't got to be none of them. And even J.R.R. Martin's is not even that bad. Westeros?
I was going to say, his aren't actually that bad. They sound legitimately like, and I think that so do mine. Custade and Basset obviously lean in more into the Arabic naming of things, and then I have Gallows Peak, which is my pirate city-state in my Ghidorah world. But I'm also within Ghidorah, which is the entire planet, because I started with planet because that's the only way I know how to do things is by going way big and then going smaller. Within that world, there's another continent called just the Ruin Lands, because it's a land in ruin. Ta-da, they ruin land.
It's that easy. Like, people are focused on more on like, well, it has to sound Latin-y and has to sound high fantasy-y, or it's not gonna be like a legitimate world. Like, girl, if you name this country Atlanta, ain't nobody gonna bat a fucking eyelash. Nobody, like, as long as it sounds good, it doesn't have to be super high fantasy.
I really think that Dawn Trail was a little bit extreme, because I will not be able to pronounce any of those names.
Dawn Trail was only extreme fucking for Shalwani. Everything else is fine. Like, Tuliolo, cool. Fucking Heritage Found, fantastic. The shit in fucking Shalani is insane. I don't even think I'm pronouncing that right. Shalwani.
Shaloani. That's okay. That's hard.
Shaloani.
It's okay to just go with simple names and not be super high fantasy, because hate to break it to you, but humans are kind of basic. Did you know that there's 8 Avon rivers in England? Because when they went there, they were like, what's that? And the Scottish went, Avon. But Avon means river, so it's literally river.
I love river. It's like tea and chai. Chai tea. TT.
Okay, so like, we're stupid. We are stupid. Okay, so
yeah.
Like, just give, like, you don't have to be, this is Sandanda Bandanda. I don't know.
Sananda Bandanda. Dandada. Sanada Dandada.
You don't have to be like that. It's okay. Gallows Peak, Cyrenia. And Cyrenia is a water world based on the concept of sirens underwater being super ugly, but when you see them on land, they're beautiful. They're stunning, like, creatures. They still have, like, some fish features, but I took that idea and was just like, I'm gonna name it Cyrenia. Let's go.
It's that easy. So please stay away from the fantasy name generators.
Some of them are good. I don't mind using them for ideas and being like, oh, I could take this part of this world and this part of this world and slap them together. It's gonna sound nice. You could do shit like that.
Like, okay, so here's my thing about the fantasy name generator. It's literally a list of names that someone has written down, and then AI to generate it. Fucking use Chat GPT, and if Chat GPT gives you an idea that would spur a different idea, then use that idea. Use fucking Chat GPT for fucking inspiration if you need to, but like,
I would prefer people like not advocate AI use.
Then y'all better stay away from them fantasy name generators.
But I think that if anything, AI is always good for not even reference. It's good for generating ideas for you to bounce off of.
Yeah.
It's not for you to just pluck off and be like, okay, this is my world now.
Yeah, no,
don't do that. That's where people fail. It's to generate a selection of ideas that you could be like, okay. Like I went on fantasy name generator for Gallows Peak actually, and what I did was refresh a couple times and just saved specific words that I liked out of each of them and was like, okay, this sounds nice. This sounds nice.
And even if you take syllables out, because you like the way the syllable sounds, and then you like the way that this end syllable sounds, mash them up together, boom, there's your country.
Absolutely. I would 100% use fantasy name generator much more like that, where you're piecing apart different words and putting them together, or different like something like Gallows Peak. It's 2 words. Yeah. But one name I believe was like Gallows Cove, and the other one was Horizon Peak, and I was like, ugh. And so I just was like Gallows Peak, boop, and I was like, okay, that sounds really nice. And I had Mia name it actually because I had a couple options. So
I did not pick the name that she thought I was going to pick.
She did not, and that's okay. I was like, okay, so we're going straight. Gallows Peak, there was going to be different vibes for each of the names. So when she went Gallows Peak, I was like, oh, we're going Hangman already.
Listen, it sounded dark and brooding and edgy, and I was like, oh, I like that one.
Those are the type of things that I would use something like fantasy name generator, or again, I don't advocate for any use of AI really, because you 100% can do better than AI. It has no continuality, no concept of consistency. So you 100% will do better than any AI can ever do. Uh-huh. So I wouldn't even bother to use it for anything other than to like generate ideas.
That's it. Don't pluck it and be like, ha, this is mine now. If you like an idea that it had, then expand on that idea. Make it make sense. Don't have Chat GPT try to make it make sense for you. Because then you're going to be sitting there reading and it's like, what the fuck are you, what, like none of this, it'll just give you an amalgam, it will give you just a Frankenstein of things that it's pulling from, and none of it will make sense. You have to make sense of it all, because AI does not know how to make sense of anything.
Yeah, no, the AI is like really bad at making sense of things. It's great for generating random ideas, but don't ask it to do anything more than that. That's why I can't even advocate for using it, because unless you're really good at making things make sense, it's not for you.
That's fair. Ah, yes, he did have a video, world building, how to make names that don't suck.
I like that. Like, here's the thing, is that a lot of high fantasy names are super hard to pronounce. And I'm not talking about like things in Mandarin and things in fucking Chinese and Japanese, and you can learn how to pronounce German. Even I can know how to fucking pronounce a few words in German. You can borrow from regular schmegular languages on Earth, and people would be like, wow, that sounds fancy as fuck. It means potato in German, but that's fine.
Right. But then you got a whole...
They don't have to know that.
You got a whole new language that you created, and this whole dialect for this language, and this is what this country is named after. And it's like, I had just started reading this book. How the fuck do you expect me to pronounce that when I don't even understand this established language that you have in your world? I don't know how to speak that shit. How am I going to know how to pronounce that?
Yeah, that's a hard sell, especially in like, I made a fantasy calendar, and even that's a hard sell, because it's got way more months than ours right now, and it's got 28 days per month. So it's completely different from And unless you're going to incorporate holidays into that world, it doesn't really matter if you have a fantasy calendar. For me, I am absolutely including holidays. I have already figured out ones based on the Witch's Wheel. Those will be going in the world. So I already have that all fucking figured out. But you could say, okay, it's one day, and you're like, what's that mean? If you say a random, yeah, it's like, I don't know what is that in relevance of? Like, what is that? Oops, I knocked into my fucking
Like, is
thing.
it the sun rising and the sun setting? How long does the sun rise and how long does the sun set? How long does it take the sun to revolve around this planet or this world or whatever the fuck it is?
And like when you introduce certain terms into your world, like I introduced the term lunarite into the world, and somebody was like, oh, does that mean it's from the moon? And I went, that's not what Luna means here. That's fine. You could do stuff like that because they already have established, okay, so Luna doesn't mean moon. Moon means moon because I have sun passes and moon passes. Moon means moon. So you have to think about stuff like that and not being so worried about sounding unique, and sometimes that simple and simplicity and remembering that humans are really stupid. Like the baseline for average intelligence, real low right now, as we can see, especially if you're in certain areas. So you have to remember that stupid people will think a lot of things are cool, even if they don't really mean anything but potato in another language.
It sounds different, therefore they like it.
They're like, cool.
It's
I don't know what that means.
They've ever heard of.
It's real easy to impress uncultured people.
It is. It really is.
Like, if they don't know any other culture but theirs, start borrowing from other cultures. With respect, of course.
Done properly.
Do your research. That's what we always advocate here. So, I've done a lot of research, and I will continue to do research. I literally researched how exactly a winter, like a high evolution winter country would work for somebody else, and what kind of tectonic plates would happen.
I like those. Look that shit up too. I'm like, oh, I can work with this as long as you have a baseline. You can make sense of anything, provided that it actually does make sense.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is like, it's hard to make sense of things sometimes, especially if you're. Again, as I will always say, AI will be either your best friend if you know how to use it, or your worst enemy, and most people it will be your worst enemy because they don't know how to use it and they use it to think instead of using it for ideas.
Right.
They're like, oh, it's gonna do all the thinking for me and I don't need to worry about anything. No.
Absolutely not.
You slap shit in there for ideas and then you do all the thinking yourself.
Yeah,
you have to do the
thinking.
thinking.
To think for you.
No, it's not. And that's why I never advocate for anybody to really use AI, because I know 95% of people will never use it right.
And then
because they don't know how.
You'd be able to tell too, because especially if you try to make sense of their things and they cannot provide a good explanation as to why those things are happening, they didn't do the work that was supposed to be put into making their world. And I've seen like a couple of videos that's like, don't expand so far into your world and this and that and this and that. And it's like, but I want it to make sense. So you can tell me not to explain all of these things, but if it doesn't make sense to me, then I don't think it's gonna make sense to anybody else.
See, the thing is, you have to have 2 documents. One of the stuff that your players need to know when it comes up, and the stuff that goes behind that need to know stuff. Because it doesn't have to necessarily make sense to players in the moment, but you have to have the information to make it make sense in the back of your mind available to you, because then you'll explain it better for your players.
Exactly. If you
can't don't do
it.
If you don't do any of the thinking, then you can't have that. Your players won't able to understand. So, however, we have chatted for an hour. We have yapped for a whole goddamn hour.
We can yap. We can
yap for a long time. I expected this to be like a 30-minute episode, but no,
we
just yapped.
There's just so many things to talk about with tabletop.
And I would love to talk more about like the other worlds that I created, because there's also the Ethereum, which is Astral Sea and based off of Treasure Planet. which we're gonna watch later today because I need to do some world building.
And I just wanted to watch Treasure Planet.
So like I saw her status yesterday after like not having my internet for a couple days. Actually, it's just a day, but it felt like forever. Yeah, I was like, Treasure Planet. Yes.
Yeah, Treasure Planet.
I was like, I need to do world building because I just placed several NPCs. Oh, quick note on world building. Lore build, don't world build. Lore build with NPCs because then your world will feel alive without you ever having to world build much of anything.
Right. Like you can make as many pantheons and as many gods and as many world events that you want to, but if there are no people in place to execute those things, then what is the point?
NPCs are important. Even people like I have. So in my Ethereum world, there's a being called Chaos, spelled with a K. And that being connects to another being we're just going to call Mother, because Mia will understand who Mother is.
I know who Mother is.
She knows exactly who Mother is. So by that point, because of that connection, I have about 300,000 years of history before that being was even born. Because Chaos obviously is primordial and a being beyond the universe.
Right.
And this being, Mother, was born on planet and she exists in reality. So there's all that space and time. I got history, I got lore, I got mythology right like that, just because I connected two NPCs to each other.
Plot holes are okay if you know how to fill them in properly. Otherwise, try to avoid plot holes.
And guess what? You don't have to have the answer right away because this being called Mother had healing abilities that I was like, those are really omnipotent and I don't know how to explain them. And I just kept going with it. I was like, I'll just keep getting deeper. I'll figure it out. I'll figure exactly out what's going on. 2 years to creating her later to the day. I read a manga that talks about, oh, this is like reversion of healing. This is like reversing the damage. It's rejecting reality. In turn, making my character make much more sense because of what her powers are. They don't have to be answered right away. Sometimes characters can be unreliable narrators about themselves.
You just need time and perhaps a good writing partner.
And a good writing partner. Yeah, I will always say a writing partner helps anybody. A lore keeper helps anybody.
Everybody needs a team. You could do everything yourself, but it gets very overwhelming after a while.
And it also gets very lonely. It gets very lonely to do everything by yourself. Like I was gonna do all my like history lore keeping myself, and I was like, I don't want to do it.
And me being a fucking super duper lore nut that has to know everything because I need to make sense of everything when I make my characters, is like, I'll do it. I'll be your lore keeper.
And she's very good at not metagaming.
Exactly.
Yeah, so she's very good at just asking if my character would do something, and I'll be like, no. Cool.
And then I will be like, okay, cool. I know what's gonna happen, but my character doesn't. And that's one of the fun things about D&D, like, or just tabletops in general. Being able to watch your character not actively know things that you would know, because then it challenges you to not metagame. It's like, okay, well, I know this, but my character doesn't. So now I have to make sure that my character doesn't. So I have to make sure that I establish this line between me knowing what I know and my character knowing what they know.
Yeah, that's pretty much the metagame. And like, she's very good at not metagaming. So she's de facto lore keeper for me. I can't keep it all myself. I got too many worlds, too many things to build.
And I'm in the process of trying to build a world myself.
Which I am very happily wanting to be a DM for. Because, there's one thing I would like to say before we close the show.
Okay.
Stop saying that nobody gets into D&D or tabletop role-playing to be a DM. Because I'm going to sit here and call you a liar straight to your fucking face. Because I played one-player game, and I hated every second of it. And I want to just like... I loved my character, don't get me wrong, but my ADHD, that shit was on fire the whole time. I was like, no, I need to be the DM because that means that motherfucker's busy and thinking all the time. Something to focus on at every single second while you guys are just shooting the shit, because they can be planning behind the scenes. They don't even have to be listening if they don't want to be. Though it's good to be listening because you get plot ideas.
Yeah.
But like they could be taking notes, be like, okay, I got this idea for this character. Like I already know where Sandy's going, and she's gonna face some of her demons. I'll put it that way.
She's got many of those too, because she is ignorant as the sun is bright.
Very, and she's very judgmental. So we're gonna have her. She already knows about Petra, so she knows that Sandy is in the wrong.
Oh yeah, and that's what is so fun about playing those characters. The things that I know and the things that I know are not morally correct or just not morally good at all. My character doesn't know that, and I don't necessarily care too much for self-inserts. I want to play the ignorant character. I want to play the bad guy because I want to put the shoe on the other foot. I want to be that person who can develop into a better person, but you have to hit that point of ignorance before you can even start developing into a better character. And that's where I'm starting with Sandy. She's ignorant, she's prejudiced, she's very judgmental. Obviously, she's gonna grow out of that. Obviously, I'm not that kind of person, but I know people like that, and I've experienced people like that, and I've seen people like that enough to know how to play that sort of character and pick up on those mannerisms and be able to play that character while not being that kind of person myself.
And the thing is about that, you don't have to look like somebody or be something or like self-insert to relate to a character. I know there's aspects of Sandy that'll come up in roleplay that I know that Mia will relate to. Absolutely. I know how I'm going to tug on her heartstrings with Sandy because she will be able to relate to Sandy. Sandy's a tabaxi cat. She doesn't have to, like, there's no physical connection where so doing characters that are not like you are a really good way to mentally challenge yourself and to explore not having to relate to a character necessarily by physical appearance.
Or personality.
Or personality, or anything. They don't have to like anything that you like Selkie, who is my cleric. She does. That bitch is. That is a. I would fight her if I knew her. And I will say that I know for a fact my favorite character to write and roleplay would not like me because I am a weak, shy individual, and she would think I'm pathetic. However, she would think I'm very cute, but that's it. She would absolutely think I'm pathetic.
I'm not hyper intelligent, but I would want to play a character that's got like 1 billion intelligence. That's just super smart character. Not very wise, because intelligence and wisdom are not the same thing, but
they're not.
Super sciencey, super smart, can make sense of most things. I can do that, but I'm not super smart. I'm kind of just wise. I
think you're wise. You're not.
I apply experiences to my experiences, and it's like, okay, well, I experienced before, that was not the answer, so let's try this instead.
How I view intelligence and wisdom for D&D is intelligence is what you read in a book. Wisdom is how you imply that intelligence.
Yeah, oh my god, okay, so there's a tomato chart that explains every single D&D skill, and intelligence is knowing that tomato is a fruit, and wisdom is knowing that tomatoes do not go into fruit salad.
Yeah, and that's like to people that, that's like, everybody knows that. That's common sense. That's the point. That's wisdom. To everyone who says that chart doesn't, like, yeah, you understand that chart is just a very basic way of explaining everything, but that's how it's supposed to be. It's common sense.
I use that term common sense anymore. I wish to call it critical thinking. Critical thinking and common knowledge. Knowledge that you're supposed to know, but you can't supposed to know anything if you were never taught it in the first place.
If you never had the book intelligence to back it up.
Exactly. How the fuck am I supposed to know tomato is a fruit? I'm supposed to know that
you could have the highest wisdom in the room. Yeah, you could have the highest wisdom in the room and still not know that fucking a tomato is actually a fruit. I learned that maybe 5 years ago, homie, and I'm a lot older than I'd like to admit right now.
Tomato's not a fruit, then why isn't it sweet? Most fruits are sweet, right? Tomato's not in a fruit salad. What, like?
So there's a benefit to playing characters that are not like you, and it's seeing the world through somebody else's eyes.
And it's very challenging, but a lot of fun.
It is a lot of fun, and I actually had a lot of fun talking about D&D. So if anybody else wants us to talk more about D&D, please let us know in the comments.
Yeah, or
before
like
we ramble on for another 25 minutes.
Even if you just want us to talk about something specific when it comes to just tabletops in general, let us know and we will gladly yap about it, because y'all know we can yap for a minute.
We can yap. I will say I don't know the rules of D&D very well. Like I said, I learned them from this book and not the book of itself, and I'm not even done. I'm still only halfway through. So, I do know a lot about world building and character building, though. I have been writing stories since I was 11 and probably shouldn't have been writing the stories that I was writing. I role-played on Neopets, let's just say that. I'll be honest with it. Put it out there.
Oh my God.
That's how old I am.
I've been doing this since like...
So if you want character advice, if you want world advice, if you want making... Like, I know a lot about how to make your world make sense based on, like, you need mountains to create a desert. You can't just have a desert without mountains to drain out the rain. It makes sense in my head.
It makes sense.
So I know a lot about that kind of stuff, and character building, making characters make sense and making characters fit a certain theme. Like my theme for my mother character was the concept of Jekyll and Hyde, and the concept that what you wish your reality to be, you will create, but you need to destroy yourself first. And this character is a creator and a destroyer kind of vibe. So that's how I made that whole concept line in. Because making it Jekyll and Hyde, making creation and destruction part of her entire kit. There you go. Character concept. Very good at making stuff like that. Makes sense. So any kind of advice you need for that, I'm your person. I think Mia's also very good at characters.
I do. I'm good at characters. Less of the actual world, but more of I can build a world just based off of a singular character. Just based off of backstory. That's all I need. All I need is a color or a theme and a backstory, and then I can make everything around them. I just
honestly
need that one
way.
spark of inspiration.
So if anybody needs any advice,
yeah,
we're your girls in that way. Don't ask us for rules advice. We're not that. Sorry.
Like, as long as you know lore, you can make a character in any alternate universe. That's what I do. I got characters for Honkai Star Rail. I got characters for Final Fantasy 14. I got Naruto OCs. I got One Piece OCs. I had a Bleach OC at one fucking point. When I was younger, I had fucking Yu-Gi-Oh OCs. Fucking Sonic the Hedgehog OCs.
I have
so
Star
many.
Trek OCs. Like... That has already been brought up.
Some fucking Marvel OCs, because I'm obsessed with fucking Marvel Rivals now. And when I hyperfixate on shit, I hyperfixate on shit. So catch me reading those comics. I will be reading the comics because I like lore. And I love being able to know things that I can build around a character.
I really like how much lore that Marvel Rivals is including in the game. Like, they got pages of lore just for their character. Like, you could tell that there was a labor of love from people who loved Marvel and loved the characters of the Marvel comics. So we'll definitely wrap this episode up. Though I do have to say, you can take inspiration and steal characters from TV show and Marvel and comics and movies and anything you want and put them in your world and role play them there. Actually, do recommend it sometimes. It's real fun.
Just make sure you give, if you publish it, give credit to where you found it.
Oh yeah. No, like that would be a case of that's a home game where you just play with your friends. Don't publish anything that's like legitimately made off of something unless you get the rights.
Oh my god. Whoa, this one character ate a fruit and now they have the power of rubber? Wow, where have I seen that before? That's crazy.
Yeah, exactly. Don't do that.
Mr.
But
Fantastic.
I was gonna say he's actually coming to Marvel Rivals, and he seems really fun. He's gonna be really busted.
I'm so excited.
And Mrs. Invisible is also gonna be really fun and really busted and really annoying.
And her booty, so cute.
And her booty.
So fat, so. All right. Okay, let's wrap this up because we've been yapping for an hour and 20 minutes.
Absolutely. But please leave a comment if you want more D&D content. For sure, we want this to be like all kind of fandom kind of vibes. Any kind of bullshit that we want. Any questions you guys have or need us advice on, please include. Mia, take over.
Okay. Yes. Again, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and turn on that notification bell to know when we are releasing new videos, because we have been backstocking content for so long that we are going to be putting videos back to back to back to back to back, and y'all can't stop us. So that's gonna
I'm
be
blinded.
Lamau. But yeah, make sure that, you know, even though this was a Sunday fun day, you know, we still kind of tied a little bit of spirituality and witchcraft into it. So as normal, practice wisely and safely, and may all of your affirmations and manifestations come to fruition. We will see y'all next week for another Witchy Wednesday about color magic. Ooh, so that's gonna be fun. And then I guess we'll see y'all next time. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Stay mystical.